Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Rob Smillie, who's the MD of Southern Gold, an exploration company exploring for precious metals in South Korea. They have a highly experienced team with a track record of exploration success in Asia, Australia, and Eastern Europe, and have a growing Brownfields and Greenfields exploration portfolio that they are developing. Rob is an experienced management and exploration professional with over 30 years of experience, including significant epithermal gold exploration, and in particular working in Asia. And he's worked for the likes of OK Tedi, Calibre Mining, and Oceana Gold. He's going to give us an overview of the company, what's it like to mine in South Korea, and also many other things, and obviously to give us an update on what the company are doing. So that's welcome, Rob, to the podcast. How you doing, Rob?
G'day, Rob. Great to be here. Look, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk today.
Yeah, and I appreciate your time as well. I know you're an active listener, as we just discussed before going live. So for those people that are listening, obviously we've got people mainly from the mining industry. We also have obviously investors. We have supplies that service the mining industry listen to this podcast. So for those that don't know you, I wonder if you can give us a little bit give us some details around your background, your career, so we get to know the guest.
Sure. Well, look, I'm a geologist by training, a Kiwi geologist. I've spent most of my career in exploration, although I worked along the whole sort of spectrum from greenfields exploration right through to mining. I cut my teeth with WMC Resources or Western Mining back in the early 90s in Kambalda. And for me, that was a great, foundational learning experience to really get your head around the whole exploration and mining business. It was a great time to be there. Met some really great people. And as an exploration geologist, spending some time in an underground mine was really fundamental for getting a good understanding of ore bodies and how they work. So that was a great amount of time. I really had a deep interest in geology in Asia, and so my career really moved into Southeast Asia, and I've spent a good part of probably close to 2 decades working in remote places in Asia, Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, and more recently at OK Tedi, as you mentioned, Rob, at the world-class OK Tedi porphyry skarn mine as exploration manager. And I've always really been attracted to exploration opportunities and things that are basically a bit different, a bit off the beaten track, a bit kind of left field where people mainly don't really seem to go. So that has really been a driving force for me, that together with the strong interest in the geology. I also might add that I'm very interested in mineral systems and geoscience and things like country prospectivity and data, and putting that all together to do sort of national scale targeting. And earlier in my career, I set up a consultancy, Kennex, back in New Zealand, that was involved in mineral prospectivity modeling, and have since gone on to do that as part of my job as exploration managers in other countries. So I guess that strong interest in the data, jurisdictions, different countries, Asia, possibilities and potential is one of the things that really led me to come to South Korea. So yeah, a fantastic journey, bit of a patchwork quilt over 30 years or so. It's typical of exploration, but certainly it's been a really fun career and met a lot of really great people and had a tremendous time.
So, wondering if you can just tell us a little bit about Southern Gold, and then obviously we go in. And I was going to also ask about obviously South Korea, but I wonder if you can just give us an overview of the company.
Sure. Well, Southern Gold has its origins really. It's based out of Adelaide. Our head office is in Adelaide, and its origins were really it was a miner in Western Australia. It had a gold mine near Kalgoorlie there, Cannon Gold Mine. So it had a strong mining background with a board of engineers and as well as an exploration team. And I think it was around about 2016 that it acquired the rights to Asiatic Gold, which had the positioning of ground here in South Korea. So it had quite an interest in South Korean projects around about 2016. And as time progressed, it's basically got 100% focus of exploration now here in South Korea. So I came on board as exploration manager around about 2021. And over time, I've now become the CEO of the company. And in that time, we've expanded the exploration portfolio here in South Korea to have a larger pipeline of drill projects. So we're entirely 100% focused here in South Korea. We have a great team of South Korean and expatriate geologists with a track record of discovery and working throughout Asia. So we really have developed that in-country capability in South Korea over the last few years, and with a strong exploration focus, as I mentioned, here in South Korea. Yep.
And I suppose most of our audience and myself is why are you exploring in South Korea? Obviously, most investors probably don't associate mining and exploration within South Korea. So I just wonder if you can just tell us a little bit more about the country, what attracted you and Southern Gold to the country, and what's it like as a mining jurisdiction?
Yeah, right. Well, look, what attracted the company and me to South Korea is the potential, the mineral potential of the country. It's massively underexplored by modern day standards, and yet has great potential for great discoveries. The mining industry is a very small part of the economy of South Korea, and in many ways, I wouldn't say it's been as a sunset industry. It certainly isn't by any means. But the rapid industrialization of the country post the Korean War really meant that high-tech manufacturing was really a key thing for the country going forward. So it became a net importer of minerals to support its growing economy. And now it's, I think it's number 10 in the OECD in terms of economic growth. So it's very, very modern. And as a result, the mining industry has kind of become quite a small-scale industry, although there is an awful amount of, I guess, industrial mining, things like limestone for cement. There are some small metal mines here. There is a very large refinery here for zinc and copper, which is the country is one of the largest exporters of or smelters of these sorts of metals. But really little mining going on and very little exploration in a modern day sense. So therein lies the opportunity for Southern Gold, is to take a modern day exploration approach to explore the country based on the prospectivity that we see here. There are some gold mines that are operating here. There's gold mine in Gasado. It's an epithermal mine. And that was discovered by Ivanhoe back in the late 80s, early 90s. In fact, by one of our board members, Doug Kerwin, who was involved with the early days of Oyu Tolgoi with Ivanhoe. And so really, in many ways, our exploration program is kind of a continuation of the work that was done by Ivanhoe in the 90s. They made some early discoveries, epithermal deposits. So these are great deposits because they're exceptionally high grade. You get very high grade gold, very high grade silver. We're talking up to 100 grams gold, 1,000 grams per ton silver, even more. So the gold equivalency is really very high. And as a result of the work of Ivanhoe, they made these great discoveries. One of their mines is in operation today. But unfortunately, their program got, I guess, cut off at the knees because they all had to go to Mongolia and work on the Oyu Tolgoi project there. And so really, there's been this hiatus in exploration since that time. So that's where we've come in to basically work on these projects. Doug's expertise is fantastic for helping us with our exploration. And yeah, really basically getting a command and ground position as a first mover into this country. So really it's a country play. We have that first mover advantage and we've got a really great ground position taking us into the future.
And what's about the sort of local communities, maybe where some of the operations are existing at the moment, and also around your exploration programs? What are their thoughts around mining? And I suppose, have you got them on your side?
Sure. No, that's a great question, Robin. And like most modern jurisdictions around the world, it's mixed. There are parts of the country that are very supportive of mining because of its mining history. And I didn't really touch much on that in my previous answer. It has a mining history going back, 1,000 years or more. And so there are many historic mines across the country. And indeed, part of our exploration strategy is exploring around these historical mines with our brownfields exploration. But if we find that in areas where there's, past mining been going on, maybe back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, places like that. The communities are very supportive of our exploration and what we're doing. So that's fantastic. So yeah, it depends where you go, but certainly the places that we're working, we get a lot of really good support from the communities. I would say probably 70 to 80% of the time, we're able to put our rig where we want to drill. So we have a pretty modern land access agreement procedure that we go through like a lot of other countries. So yeah, it's we're, based on my experience, jurisdictions to working with landowners. If you get them on site, explain to them what you're doing, we generally find we get a very pleasing and positive result as we build partnerships with them over time.
Southern Gold is obviously an early stage explorer. I wonder if you just give us an overview of some of your key gold projects.
Sure. We've got a number of Brownfields and Greenfields projects. Our main gold project is the Dock-On Gold Silver project. That's an epithermal style deposit. It was been mined periodically over the years. It's a very high grade silver deposit, well over in places over, I think places like maybe 9,000 grams per ton silver, something quite extraordinary, very, very high grades. The main mine itself was mined on several levels over a vertical extent of around about 250 meters, again with very high grades. And that's recently where we started our drill program around about in February, was to test the along strike extensions of this mine. So despite being a great asset, it's got very few holes in it, which just reinforces, I guess, the lack of exploration in a modern day sense in South Korea. So that's a great project. That covers quite a few graticules or license applications and areas. So that's a key piece of work for us that we're going to be going forward. And we'll be releasing the assays from that drill program in the weeks to come. So that's a great project. But one of our other projects, in fact, one that we're drilling at the moment, is our Gosong copper gold project. Probably I'd say, like in the recent 12 months, we've got a much better understanding of the geology of the country and the mineral systems. And whilst in the past we've been focusing a lot on the high-grade projects like Dock-On, which are great targets, we've also been seeing what you would probably consider maybe the deeper parts of these mineral systems that are higher in copper, that potentially might have an intrusive-related aspect to them. I wouldn't necessarily say porphyry. We're not seeing any direct evidence for porphyries yet in South Korea, but certainly we're seeing copper and gold associated together with some of the projects that we're looking at, such as our Gosong project, which we've just started drilling in the last week or so. But this is an historical copper mining district going back into the 70s. But we're finding there, we found very large structures over 2 kilometers long, many historical mines in that area. We're seeing evidence for high temperature mineralization. We've got lots of interesting base metals as well. So that's a very interesting project. It's a very large mineral system covering many tens of square kilometers. So that's another really one of our key projects.
Obviously, your focus is on gold, but you've recently expanded into exploration for lithium. Why was this?
Yes, that's a great question. We've also expanded into rare earth elements as well. And I suppose you could say it's really part of, our interest in the geology of Korea. Me being based here in Korea, it's a fantastic opportunity to really just get to see the potential of the country for other commodities other than gold. So gold's our primary focus, but we definitely saw there's the opportunity to explore for these things and expand the company's exploration portfolio to include those kind of critical minerals. Again, with a lack of modern day exploration, it's just a huge opportunity which you can't really afford to walk away from. And so we knew that there are unmined deposits of rare earths and an historical lithium mine in the country. So that really got our interest. And so as a result of that, we engaged consultancy RSC to do one of these mineral potential studies of the country, the kind of things I've been involved in the past, to give us an idea of where other deposits might be. And in that time, we've used national scale government data sets to zero on some really interesting lithium and rare earth opportunities. Some of them very close to these existing deposits, the rare earth deposits and the lithium deposits, using geochemistry and geophysics, typical, encouraging pathfinders. And the regional data sets for the lithium geochemistry, for example, were extremely encouraging, getting lithium up to 400 ppm in soils and stream sediment anomalies is really very, very good. Thorium anomalies, very exciting as well. And so as a result of this prospectivity, we put together this We had a really impressive portfolio of rare earths and lithium in recent months to complement our gold program. And I suppose added to that is also the strong interest by the Korean government in lithium and things like rare earths, because South Korea is a global powerhouse when it comes to battery manufacturing. It's a huge importer of lithium. It's got a number of offtake agreements with Australian companies to process lithium for lithium batteries here in Korea. And so, you put two and two together and say, well, look, there's no exploration going on in a modern day sense for these minerals. It's a very prospective country. The idea of basically having what I would call an indigenous supply of these critical minerals is just fantastic. And as I say, we're really the only company that's actively exploring for them. We've got a great ground position over really prospective ground. We've commenced the exploration on these areas. And so really it's just extending and expanding our portfolio to include other really high value minerals that we believe will be of great value to the company and shareholders as a result.
Obviously, you mentioned about the South Korean government. Are they pretty much supportive of your sort of exploration programs? And also, are you getting sort of much interest from potential JV partners?
Yes, on both fronts. So we're really pleased with the level of interest we're getting from, various government agencies. We've got essentially the Geological Survey, KIGM, the Korea Institute of Geoscience and Mining. In fact, they're based here in Daejeon, where I live just down the road. And we've built a really good, close working relationship with many of the people in that organisation. And likewise at COMIA, which is the government organisation, which is really responsible for securing supplies of minerals for the country, both internationally and domestically. And we've met with them, and they are very interested and excited indeed in our lithium and rare earth exploration portfolio. There's the potential for government grants. There's the potential for subsidising of exploration. I mean, these are early days discussions, but they said, look, come back to us when you've advanced your exploration a bit. There's the potential for them to assist with flying things like geophysics. And indeed, the government does actively subsidise drilling programs, obviously not just for critical minerals, but also for gold. So yeah, there really is a good level of support and interest by the government in the program that we've got underway here in Korea. And look, we're also very pleased that we're getting a lot of interest from potential JV partners. There's a lot of companies around the world that are looking for new places to go. And really pleased to say that we've had some visits very recently from a couple of companies, a company looking at our lithium exploration portfolio, and a company looking at our precious metals portfolio and our copper. And yeah, obviously I would consider that a validation of our program and the work we've got and the fantastic team that we have. So yeah, we're getting a lot of interest and hopefully more interest into the future.
Wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about the South Korean mining legislation. And obviously if international companies want to go into South Korea and want to invest, what's the mining legislation like?
Yeah, it's a good mining legislation. There's a 0%, there's a zero royalty here in Korea, which is absolutely amazing. The government actually owns all the minerals. They have I guess you could say, a typical exploration tier part of the legislation and the mining tier. So yeah, I don't believe that the jurisdiction system is really any kind of sort of system that any international company wouldn't be familiar with. It's kind of a fit for purpose, more for small scale mining, but obviously there are large scale mines here in operation. So it certainly is a jurisdiction that is quite workable. It's very workable for us for our exploration activities. And as part of that due diligence review, the companies we've been talking to have been looking at the jurisdiction, and they see it as something which is obviously unique to Korea and it fits here, but it's something which is eminently workable in a modern day sense.
And if an international company was listening, or someone from an international company was listening, what would attract them to South Korea to do business in the mining industry?
Well, I'd say I'd love them to do a joint venture with us because, we have fantastic ground, fantastic prospectivity and a great commanding land holding, probably as good as any other company in a foreign jurisdiction. But it's really the potential of the country. It's got great potential. It's underexplored in a modern day sense. And so it really lacks a modern mining industry. However, having said that, there's plenty of room to explore. There are very large there are very large quarries here that are on the scale of many mines that I've seen in Australia. So, the potential to develop deposits is there, obviously. It's just that there's been no big discoveries here, Rob, in modern years. And that's why it's kind of off the radar. Until you really make a big discovery, a lot of companies, it doesn't really come across their desk. But I would add that one of the world's biggest tungsten mines is here in South Korea, the Sandong tungsten mine. It was discovered around about 1915, and it's at the stage of being reopened by Almonte Industries, which is a TSX listed company. Now, that's a fantastic geological resource, tungsten, a massive thing. But it's a huge part of the country's modernization and industrialization drive back in the 60s and 70s. So there are these large deposits here of tungsten, and there will be of other things as well. So the key thing really is making some really good discoveries and getting people's attention. But yeah, I think the other great thing, it's the rule of law. It's a safe jurisdiction. It's modern, which is fantastic. I mean, you consider a lot of companies are going to other jurisdictions which are less secure. If you want to go to a modern country with great mining potential, modern laws, a workable jurisdiction that's really interesting, yeah, I think South Korea is definitely on the list.
And what's it like living in South Korea?
Oh, it's fantastic. I love it. It's a very high energy country. I mean, you're probably across a lot of the K-pop and the K-dramas. I'd say it's going through a real global expansion phase in terms of people's awareness of South Korea, because of things like Squid Games and Netflix and BTS, a fantastic band, and it's a wonderful place to work. I would say it's definitely the highlight of my career, working with the Korean people, the Korean staff that we have. They're wonderful people. They're extremely hardworking. They're very friendly. Getting around the country is fantastic. The infrastructure is amazing. Getting to our exploration destination in a couple of hours, so you can actually validate stuff. It's a really great place to live, a really great place to explore. And yeah, I'd probably say that I'm having the time of my life as a geologist, as an explorationist, with the excitement of the potential of discovery, and just working in a really, really friendly country with really great people. It's great fun.
That's good to hear. And what's the education level like in terms of mining? So, for instance, mine engineering, geologists, maybe processing and maintenance people within the mining industry. What's the skill level like?
It's very high in the mining industry because, as I mentioned, it's got quite a large industrial mining industry here through the things like cement making and other things like that. There are a lot of underground mines. So there are several universities here. They have geology departments, mining engineers. In fact, we have a couple of mining engineers as part of Southern Gold working with us who have worked in underground mines. So yeah, I think the mining industry and the engineering and the metallurgy, certainly in the processing plants, I mean, they're a world leader when it comes to processing ore and processing concentrate with the Ulsan plant. So yeah, certainly has that industry. And the other thing, in terms of exploration geologists, that's probably where it's not as strong, because there's no real exploration industry here. And, to a large extent, we're really it. A lot of the exploration geology graduates tend to go more into the government jobs rather than moving into exploration. So we're very rare as a company in that we're quite lucky to have acquired some really great geologists working for us as explorationists within Southern Gold. But if I was to say, where the weaknesses in terms of exploration, it would be basically, industry trained exploration geologists, as you might find in places like Philippines or Indonesia. But certainly the mining industry, they've got that expertise in spades.
So I just want to go back to your drilling program. Just wondering if you can give us an update on the progress and what to expect over the coming months.
Sure. Well, as I say, the drilling commenced back in February at our Dock On project, so it's progressing really well. We finished drilling at Dock On a couple of weeks ago, and we're waiting for the assays before the end of the month, so that's going to be interesting. We're now started drilling at our Gosong project. We've got around about a 4-hole program for 900 meters there, and we just started the first hole. So we should be getting assays from that around about late June. I should point out that we drill here on single shift. As I said before, Rob, there isn't much of an exploration industry here in South Korea. And so there isn't really that culture of drilling that that I'm used to in other places like Australia. So we drill on single shifts. So it takes a bit longer to get through the holes and to get the assays out. So I do appreciate the patience of our investors for that. And we've got programs of drilling continuing into July. We're working up a couple of our targets, Arfe and Dokchon, our gold projects, that we want to advance those. And at the same time, we're working very hard on our rare earth and lithium portfolio. The guys have been out there the last couple of weeks, getting out in the field, working those areas up. So we'd like to be drilling our rare earth projects, hopefully around about sort of September-ish through towards the end of the calendar year, and then migrating through into the lithium drilling early 2024, sort of within the next financial year. So, plenty of drilling coming up, and we'll be having assays coming out as we go throughout the coming months, not just from the drilling, but also from the other work that we'll be doing for the rare earths and lithium in terms of the rock chips as well, potentially some geophysical surveys. So a lot of work going on, and obviously a lot of news flow coming out for people to keep an eye on what we're doing and where we're up to.
Why should potential investors look to invest in Southern Gold?
Well, I think we're massively undervalued at the moment, and we're a great investment, I believe. They should invest in us because we've got a really commanding ground holding here in Korea, a really prospective ground. We've got great projects. We've got an active drilling program. We've got a fantastic pipeline of drill targets into the future. So we've got that great continuity. We've got a really interesting and expanded diverse portfolio of not just gold, but also lithium and rare earths. Fantastic support from the government for the work that we're doing. We're well funded. We've got around about $3.5 million in cash. So that's great. And we have a fantastic team, which is highly motivated, that really want to find things. So we've got a great team with a track record of discovery, fantastic exploration assets. If people get in with us now, they're going to be part of a really exciting journey over the longer term. And indeed, over the shorter term. Who knows what we'll find in the coming weeks with the drilling, because it's a very exciting time for us right now, Rob.
Yeah. And concluding, what's the outlook for the company for the remainder of the year and going into 2024?
Yeah, that's a good question, Rob. Look, just to conclude, I think Southern Gold is really very well positioned for the future, for the next 12 months and beyond. We've got a great management team. I didn't mention our chairman, Peter Banford, is extremely wise chair, a lot of experience in the mining industry, and we've got a great supportive board. As I mentioned, we're well funded. We've got a lot of drilling coming up, so there's going to be a lot of information and news flow coming out of the drilling to potential investors, and they can see how well we're doing through that program. A lot of exploration in the critical minerals. So yeah, I think all in all, great jurisdiction, great program, great management, and it's a combination of being in the right place at the right time. And yeah, certainly a very exciting time for us as a company, and we would welcome interest from new shareholders. And yeah, so yeah, keep an eye on our story going forward, very much so.
Rob, really appreciate your time in give us an overview of Southern Gold, what South Korea is like as a mining jurisdiction. Obviously, we've had no one on here that has spoken about obviously South Korea as a mining jurisdiction. So really appreciate your time, and all the best for the remainder of the year. Perhaps you want to come on next year and give us an update.
I'd love to. Yeah, and thanks very much, Rob. Really enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Worries.
Thanks.
And also, how can we reach you if any our audience wants to reach out to you? Also, follow your story as well. So, are you across any social media platforms?
Yes, we're on LinkedIn and Twitter, so people can reach us through there. I'm always happy to speak to people through Messenger on those things. Obviously, we know through our website as well. You can contact us through our website and through our office in Adelaide. So yeah, people can contact us anytime. We're always happy to talk as much as I can within the confines of materiality through to people. Yeah.
Yep. We'll include all those in the show notes, accompanying this podcast anyway. So for easy access for any of our audience to reach out to you. So
fantastic.
All the best for the remainder of the year. And the audience, hope you enjoyed that episode. Obviously, it's a new jurisdiction, South Korea. Who would think mining happens in South Korea? And obviously, Robert has explained what the mining industry is doing in South Korea, and it does seem to be does seem to be some things happening there. And obviously, we wish Robert and the team at Southern Gold all the best for the remainder of the year. Really appreciate your continued support. Thank you for listening. Please keep sharing this episode to others in the industry, fellow professionals, and also people outside of the mining industry, because what we want to do is to, I suppose, make everyone aware of what we do in the mining industry. And it's not all bad, as the people within the, I suppose, global in the world think mining has a bad brand, has a bad image. We're not all bad. And as Robert has highlighted, there is obviously a lot of positives that the mining industry give back to the community. So appreciate your continued support. Keep sharing the episodes. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.